So vergence issues, convergence, divergence. Quick little story about what really cemented some of this stuff into me. So I talk with a lot of I talked with a guy out of Germany a lot about the eyes. And I got into a pretty major car accident probably about 3 months ago. And I was major concussed, airbags went off. It was like a complete bomb hit the front of my car. It was a head-on collision. Okay, so it totaled the car. I mean, the things that I remember most from the accident were the noises. I mean, crazy, boom, everything was crazy. So when I would do a convergence test, it's a lot of midbrain feedback that I got in that collision. Okay, so meaning I hit that car, everything was converging in on me. All right, so it got overloaded. So in my concussion protocol, I was wearing glasses that did not allow my eyes to converge. They were divergent glasses, right? So now they can't converge. It felt like I was completely relaxed. I'd take the glasses off and my eyes would begin to focus on something and converge. It'd send too much information into my brainstem and I'd get a headache. So part of my therapy was making sure my eyes couldn't diverge until that part of my brain healed. And I started thinking, holy cow, if there is that type of discrepancy after a concussion, think about every time that you rack into somebody in football. Some type of cranial sutures moving, some type of eye visual field is being impaired. We have to be able to recover that. You can test that and figure that out. So here's how my testing went. And this is what's cool about this stuff. So I was testing range of motion in my neck after my accident. Awful, right? So we're talking about convergent, divergence. How else do you use it in training? Anybody ever hear what this piece of string is called? It's called a Brock string, okay? So all it is beads that help you work binocular vision, both eyes together, okay? I'll explain a little bit how you use it and then research it. Pull it up. It's not anything that's not out there on the internet, okay? So a Brock string, you guys can see me? So a Brock string is this thing right here. I got it attached to my desk and I got a bead that's about, I don't know, 3 feet away from me. I'm gonna hold it right underneath my nose and I'm gonna look down the string, okay? And I'm looking at the farthest bead away and I'm seeing if I can make the rope turn into 2 ropes going to it. And you'll know as soon as you start practicing with one of these, okay? And the goal is to have both your eyes working all the time, whether you're near or far, okay? And once you master that in an angle like this, then we start going into sports-specific positions. We go into, I'll put, our kicker did this a ton, our field goal kicker. We put the ball down and it's amazing what you think you're tracking and what's not really happening. Okay, so if both eyes are on the target, you're gonna get way more accurate. Okay, so that's the Brock string and how we train convergence, divergence. You saw the eye patches. Those are the things that we use for practical things that happen right away. All right, so we're looking at using both eyes simultaneously, okay? You can utilize skills where you're holding 2 pens in your hand and work on, hold 1 pen out here and work on a spiral around that pen just to understand depth perception. I could look straight ahead from far away and work depth perception up close. All these things are going to help your eyes, like Chris said, understand horizon, react to what's in that horizon, and depth perception. These are some of the best qualities that people have as athletes. And we're not training them any other way unless we're training our eyes and the vestibular system.
how these concepts work with an athlete who has permanent nerve damage in the right eye from an injury during childhood?
Well, it depends. I mean, can we start, is that, there's no way that that nerve is, was it cut? Was it fused? Was it burned? Was it how, what, was there an injury to it? But think about this. If you're trying to activate different cranial nerves, if you can get the surrounding nerves around it to fire, it's going to support what's not firing. It's just like that system, proprioceptive, visual, and vestibular. If something's not working, go to the surrounding areas and try to impact that to get a response out of what you're not seeing. Okay, band, snap, and hit in the eye. Yep, I would try that. I would try a different system, a different cranial nerve, or something they're really good at to feel what he's not good at or she's not good at. How do I create buy-in with my athletes? I have them test it and see on themselves. Okay. I know that you guys have seen RPR where you do an activation, then you do a muscle test, and you can put somebody on the table and go, wow, there's a dramatic difference. You can do that with an eye convergence test. If your convergence is working appropriately, you do a sit-up test, it's the same exact response, because that convergence is a huge flexor dominance. Okay? So if you do a convergence test a few times, do a sit-up test. It'll be way better. That's how I sell things to our kids. And it sounds funny, but if they're benching more, squatting more, and doing something from a potentiation aspect, they're like, wow, that's crazy. They bought in. So any way that I can do that, I do that. Some people don't like that. I love it. So the progression with the box string, you start looking straight ahead and trying to get that bead and that string to split into two. Okay. Then you can look at different angles of the string. So your head is turned right. I'm looking at the string right. So now I'm working on that right eye dominance thing. I'm making sure that my other eye is helping in that binocular vision. Okay. It's a way to train it. You'll notice that maybe if your head turns right, you don't have binocular vision, and you got to figure that out. You have to practice that. That is a skill. Okay. Then you can add perturbations to it. Chris's favorite word. You can add bouncing up and down to it while you're looking down that string, trying to make them split. Okay. All these things are adding a different stimulus, all while we want the convergence part to work. So again, just like you would add more weight in the weight room, or you'd change a drop height, or you'd add a rubber band to something, you do the same thing with your visual field. Challenge it. Questions on that? I'm not seeing any of the questions if there are any.
I think the bouncings in the sports specific are great. You know, wide receivers looking back over their shoulder. You know, anytime that you have to run and track something, I think that's really one of the things that we miss, because what happens is your body knows that it has a target, which is to meet the ball. So you will slow down so it gets to the point where it's not bouncing so you can track. And a lot of times the quarterback has already thrown the ball, or someone's already thrown the ball, and you can't adjust to that. I think that's where you see a lot of athletes come up short, is their inability to track at speed.
So how do I do this in a setting? And I've talked about this a bunch. Like, I put a lot of my stuff in to a warm-up, okay? And here's what I mean by that. So first day of football practice, first day of track practice, I'm the head coach, so I tell myself, or the head track coach, I'll tell him I need 15 minutes in the beginning of practice. All I'm doing is testing different eye exercises. Here's what I mean. So I'm going to test a range of motion. Just find a range of motion. I'll test a convergence test 3 or 4 times. I'm going to see how my system responds to it. If I get better, I'm putting that in my pocket. I like that. Okay. I'm going to do a horizontal saccade movement where my eyes flick to a target. Okay. I'm going to test it. Does my body like that? If I like it, put it in my pocket. I'm going to test a vertical saccade. I'm going to test it. Does my body like it or not like it? Do you have to do this test? Absolutely not. You can do a rotation test, a toe touch, a muscle test. Do something. Just get a nervous system response just to see where that's at. Okay? We'll do a convergence test where I'm closing one eye, bringing my thumb in, pushing it to the other side as far as I can, and I'll try the other side. And I've tested both sides. Right? So let's say I do 8 different ocular exercises. I know this. Ocular exercise can either reflexively excite or reflexively inhibit muscles. And I'm pretty sure that if I get some type of response, I'm working on some type of potentiation. So we build that back into our warm-up. So when kids come out, now they all have exercises, eye exercises they're doing. So if you look at the kid in the front that the camera's on, he's covering his right eye and doing a convergence test. If you look at the kid directly behind him, he's checking his range of motion, okay? If you look at the kid to his right far away, he's covering his left eye doing a convergence test, okay? They all know what exercises they're doing before they even get out there. So when I blow the whistle, it's eye exercises. I'm warming up their eyes to get ready to play. I don't see that anywhere in sport, yet we just got done talking for an hour about how important it is. Okay, so I add that to our warm-up. What is a neural stack? So if you hear me talk, I talk about neural stacks all the time. A neural stack is synchronized combination of 2 or more complementary inputs. I use it all the time with isometrics. Now that we've talked about extreme lunges, we will get into that extreme lunge position, and then I'll give myself a visual target. Are we going horizontal saccades? Are we going vertical saccades? Are we going smooth pursuits? Are we going VORs? That information that's coming in is being stacked on the proprioceptive information that's coming in from the isometrics.
Dan, would the exercises that they get a response to change and need retesting or stay consistent?
You know what? That's a great question. I test it like once a week because they will change. As the patterns get stronger, they'll change. Good question. Yep. But they have so many different that they're always finding new ones. So it's great. Any questions on neural stacking? I'm going to tell you, this is something that I think is very beneficial right now when you can't find a weight room. It's beneficial to potentiate something. Okay, so here it is in the weight room. Here it is out on the football field. There it is using a lunge. So if you look at, can you guys see my cursor? Chris, can you see this? Okay, so if you look at this kid right here, he's doing a vertical saccade. This kid's doing a vertical saccade. They're both in lunge positions. These guys are doing horizontal saccades. Now, if you look at this kid, his hands are way far apart. You know how challenging that is to the brain? I don't know why he's doing this because I bet you if he tested it that far away, it'd be pretty threatful, but maybe he did. Okay, so you'll see this kid's going vertical, that kid's horizontal. Okay, so they all have different things that they're doing, but now the fundamental position I'm teaching is the lunge. Okay, this is all in our warm-up. This is in the weight room before a big bench press. He's checking. Yep, that worked. Now I'm going to go bench press. Okay, so now he has his eye exercises that he's doing between each set. And all he's doing is testing it. Here's the way it looks from the big pole camera that we have. Okay, kids doing all different kinds of eye exercises coming out of, and if you were listening to the first couple of presentations, coming out of standing at attention, power pose. And then it's what's even better is I should have reversed the camera and filmed the other team watching us do this shit.